Kakarot has just released its final DLC for Season 2. That is how they phrased it in the trailer, which is a pretty good indicator that a Season 3 may be coming. But for now, let's see how they wrapped up Season 2 with Goku's Next Journey, a DLC covering the final episodes of Dragon Ball Z, the 10-year time skip after the victory over Kid Buu on Land of the Kais. The first big question I had was, how are they going to make a full DLC pack out of a couple of episodes? And well, the answer was a bit underwhelming. If you're expecting to follow Goku as he leaves the World Tournament arena with Oob, maybe visit his village and follow a bit of their training, you know, the stuff that happens after the anime ends, well then you'll be disappointed. Goku flies off with Oob, and credits roll, just like the show. They mostly extend these episodes that you've seen on TV in two different ways. One, slice of life side quests, and two, a bonus saga at the very end. Let's start with the side quests. Pan loves to hang out with Goku, he's the cool grandpa, so they're hanging out and training all the time. Goten is a bit of a slacker. He's got a dating life, so he keeps trying to sneak around his dad, who just keeps wanting him to train. And you go through the rest of the family and a few of the side casts too. For instance, what is Master Roshi up to these days? Oh, pretty much the same, still ordering porno magazines over the phone? That's great. There's not a lot of meat if you dig into what each quest is doing, but if you like to see these characters doing daily, normal, mundane stuff, I guess there is some value to it. Even though gameplay-wise, you do end up fighting against robots a lot. As for the bonus saga, it happens after you're done with the whole Oob World Tournament thing and Goku flies off, and it's something very short and combat focused. There's a gauntlet where you fight against Frieza, Cell, and Kid Buu in a row without regenerating health in between. It's just Goku doing mind training in preparation for the ultimate Goku vs Vegeta fight, which is the single most cinematic battle that CC2 has done in Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. They went all out for this single fight. This saga is short, but man, this fight was so worth it. And that's all we'll show of it in this review. You gotta see the rest for yourself. But that's all just bonus stuff. It's side quests and it's a bonus saga, so what about the main missions themselves? How good was the main stuff? Well, the DLC got that good Kakarot treatment that was promised. Good storytelling, great cutscenes, and this time, as far as combat encounters go, you have a mix of regular combat as well as grounded combat. It's basically utilizing the best that they had to build during the previous DLC and put it together into this final saga. Oh, and the reason why you have grounded combat is because Bulma has banned flying during the World Tournament. She doesn't want anyone to make a scene. Overall, I don't think this is the best DLC they've done, but it's not the worst either. It was always going to be hard to follow the World Tournament DLC, even though that was very short and had an extremely grindy post-game. This one is not as short, but definitely not as long as the Trunks DLC, for instance. I'd say the post-game is a lot better, a lot less grindy. Out of the 6 DLC packs they have released so far, this one probably lands at the number 3 for me. You play most of it as Goku, and this isn't the same Goku that you have in the base game. It's got a new talent tree for you to unlock, definitely not as big as the base Goku, because we'd be here for days. He does have pretty much the same moves though, so calling him a new character might be a stretch. By the end of the DLC, you unlock a new Kamehameha, which is absolutely devastating. You can charge it up, and it will deal an insane amount of damage if you do. There's a new combo upgrade once you unlock it, and a few new passive buffs as well. So there's some new stuff, but maybe not enough to make it feel like an entirely new character. Not all of that makes it back to the base game, by the way. After you're done with the DLC, you unlock some of this stuff, but those passive buffs, for instance, they are DLC exclusive. You do get, however, that sick Kamehameha. You can bring it back to the base game, Goku can equip it. You can also get the new combo update and another ability that I completely missed during the DLC called Dragon Flash. I only found out about it once I came back to the base game, and it is insane. It just teleports you behind your enemy for basically no meter. You combo that with Body Blow and you're just draining that stun meter like crazy. Frieza still hits pretty hard though. But yeah, because you play most of the DLC as Goku, only Goku gets new abilities in the base game. And I do say most of the DLC because you do get to play as Pan for a little bit, which is pretty fun. Her moveset is very goofy. Gameplay wise, I found this one was slightly above the previous DLC because it jumps between those two combat styles. Even though you can't customize the grounded combat version of this Goku, it just has a different moveset and you cannot change it. I guess they didn't build the game ready to customize two different types of moves. But it also ends up feeling a lot safer and unsurprising. They ended up not adding any new systems like they did before with Horde battles or the grounded battle from the last DLC. Instead, they made the best of all the systems that they had already built so far, which was smart, but it feels like the DLC ended up lacking something and just felt safe. And so my hope was that they made it up on the story side of things, because this was not a safe arc to choose as DLC. Not only is this extremely short in Dragon Ball Z, it's an arc that we now see very differently compared to when we first watched it. Back when Dragon Ball Z was coming out, that 10-year time skip was a farewell to the series that we loved so much. We knew that Goku and Vegeta were probably stronger than they were in the Buu saga, but we just didn't know by how much. We're left wondering, did they really evolve during these last 10 years during this time of peace? Are they still basically the same level, or did they reach new heights? Well, now we know, because we're watching and reading Dragon Ball Super, which takes place right after Buu, but before this arc. At some point, Dragon Ball Super is going to reach this same tournament. It's going to reach this story, and in fact, we're already very close. With Super Hero, we saw both Pan and Goten. If you compare them with the characters in this arc, they are pretty much the same age. And yet, it doesn't feel like Dragon Ball Super is anywhere near ready to meet the end of Dragon Ball Z, which made this choice of an arc something that I found incredibly brave for both CyberConnect 2 and Bandai. This choice of DLC was not safe at all, because the saga that we saw years ago is now seen in a very different light, but unfortunately, every chance they had to link the two, they completely fumbled. Starting with something as simple as Goku's transformations. In this DLC, you can turn into Super Saiyan, Super Saiyan 2, and Super Saiyan 3. Back when we watched Dragon Ball Z, this is what we assumed he had at the time. But we were curious as to what other forms had he attained when, well, now we know that he has ascended to a level of a god and beyond. Unless something happens after Super Hero that just downgrades him back to Super Saiyan 3, he's definitely gonna have those transformations available during this time frame. But that's fine, maybe Goku just didn't want to use those forms, and that's why you don't have them available. So let's switch topics and go into this side mission. This Frieza minion here is causing trouble. He's been interfering with some phone calls, trying to gather information so he can avenge his dead leader Frieza. The only problem is, there's no revenge to be done. Frieza is alive. Back when we watched Z, yeah, we all assumed Frieza was dead, but now we know that he was resurrected at the end of the Tournament of Power, and we just saw him in the Broly movie. I mean, he does show up in the manga again, very much alive, we're not gonna spoil that. So what gives? Did this guy not get the message that Frieza is still alive and well? This communications expert guy somehow not pick up on the entire Frieza Empire being rebuilt across space. Okay, cool. There were so many points where they could have linked something, because there are a lot of links to be made between the end of Z and Dragon Ball Super. For instance, during this time we see a new side of Goku. He still loves to fight above all else, but he's also worried about finding a successor who will protect the Earth should something happen to him. And that is why he's been looking forward to fighting Oob so much. He sees that potential in him, and we see the same Goku in Dragon Ball Super as he's training Broly to control his own power. You could see that training as him preparing someone else to protect the planet too. I'm not saying that's why he's doing it in Dragon Ball Super, but you could definitely link those two plot lines together. There's also this moment at the end of the tournament. Right before Goku is about to leave with Oob, he tells Vegeta that he was looking forward to their rematch, and Vegeta replies with,
"We couldn't have fought for real anyway. Next time we fight, we'll need an entire planet to serve as our arena. We'll settle this one of these days, and I'll defeat you once and for all."
As soon as I heard this line in-game, it reminded me of the post-credits scene in Dragon Ball Super Hero. Goku and Vegeta fought in the background of the entire movie using the entire planet as their battleground, ending with Vegeta finally defeating Goku. And I thought, what a great way to link these two arcs together. Except it doesn't work at all, because Goku went away to train with Oob after the tournament, after being isolated from his family for at least 5 years. I know it's 5 years, because everyone complained that Goku hasn't come to visit anyone in 5 years. So he wasn't training with Vegeta before this, and he wasn't training with Vegeta after this. Unless for some reason he took a break from training with Oob to go train Broly, I don't know. This really doesn't fit together, and at some point, I suspect they're gonna have to retcon a lot of it to fit to the end of Z with Dragon Ball Super. But that's ultimately why picking this saga for DLC is not such a simple choice. With the other sagas, the job was easy. Just retell those events, add a little bit of CC2 flair, and you're done. With this one, I feel like if you're gonna tackle it, you gotta have more to say. And they had absolutely nothing. There is one thing, however, that I think this DLC does better than every other DLC that came before, and that's post-game content. The main mission is pretty short, you can finish it in about 2 hours, but now I'm about 5.5 hours in, and I'm still not done with post-game. And unlike previous DLC, this has not gotten grindy yet. It's been pretty chill gathering orbs to fill out the talent tree and getting experience to beat higher level bosses and tackle higher level missions. And that's because they've got a lot of side missions after you finish the main stuff. One of those side missions triggers a new collectible for this DLC, which are memories. Now, you may have seen these in the base game, they had screenshots from original Dragon Ball. Well, now you're gathering memories from Dragon Ball Z, and some of them have you replaying some base game boss fights like Nappa or the entire Ginyu Force. Except they're on a higher level now and a lot more challenging. And even though it's a collectible, if you don't like hunting for this stuff, the map will always show you roughly where to find them, and you can also pay Baba some Zeni, so she reveals more locations for you. After that's done, you've got the tough training missions once again, where you can go through all the boss fights, but now they're higher and higher level, and you get some sacred water so you can level up faster and tackle the next mission again and again. Now this is always going to get a little bit grindy towards the end levels, but for me, it's miles better than what the other DLC were doing with post-main mission content. But that's the final DLC for Season 2 of Kakarot. I do think this arc deserved something more. It was a bold choice for them, and I think gameplay-wise it was good, but story-wise it felt a bit lacking for me. If you're gonna choose this arc in 2024, you have to acknowledge what happened since that fight with Kid Buu, even if it is just a small nod in a random side quest. But I can fully recommend Season Pass 2. I think the 3 DLC are great, and I honestly hope they're doing more in the future, because I'm not done with Kakarot. What would you like to see from a Season Pass 3 if it ever happens? You can choose 3 arcs. Let me know in the comments. And if you've missed the last DLC, it is my favorite they have ever released. The last World Martial Arts Tournament from the original Dragon Ball. Thanks for watching. Bye.